Scott Bauer joins us, as always, to talk a little BTC. Scott, what do you make of this bounce back off those lows from the weekend?
I think heading into your intro just before the last break, you said the right thing. I don't think Bitcoin really went anywhere, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
Pullback, yes. I think it actually withstood 3 or 4 major negative happenings, if you will, at the same time. One was, obviously what we saw in Turkey. 2, the electrical issue in China, which caused basically all the mining and the hash rate to just plummet. 3, the news coming out of the White House about potential, capital gains taxes. And then on top of that, you got Janet Yellen, you got Christine Lagarde talking negatively about Bitcoin itself. So all of this really happened all at once. And yeah, we saw a sell-off. And then, on top of that, we got to the point last week or a week and a half ago that everybody and their mother, including your Uber driver, the person at the checkout counter at your grocery store, was talking about Dogecoin. Well, that is
there we go.
That psychological, sort of.
Now we're barking up the right tree. This 1,000 cuts, death by 1,000 cuts story.
Yes.
I don't know. Looks to me like it's just froth that was out of control.
I couldn't agree more. So you had all of that at once. Now, that 53,000 level, that's an important level, whether it's psychological or not, because that's the $1 trillion value level, market cap value for just Bitcoin, not all of crypto, for just Bitcoin. So, the bulls are going to say, okay, once we rally back above that, we're safe. There's a line in the sand there. But realistically, that is a big number. So I look at this and say, wow, it took 5 or 6 shots to the face, straight on last week, all at the same time. Can it fall more? Absolutely it can. But boy, oh boy, the technicals and the fundamentals look pretty good. I know you were talking, was it end of last weekend saying there's this bearish wedge coming in here. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was the sell-off that you were looking for.
All right. Thanks for the shout-out, Scott Bauer. I did identify a bearish wedge developing.
You did.
So, Scott, if we don't get back into that range that we were in, because we were knocking on the ceiling of 60K so many times, then as soon as we broke above it, we broke back down, right? That was kind of the wedge situation. So,
yep.
The other thing that I take away from that technical pattern was that, well, there were so many buyers on the way up where even though we weren't breaking out to new highs, the dips were getting shallower and shallower and shallower until finally we, kind of flatlined before the breakout and then break down. So all that buying on the way up of those dips would seem to suggest we know there's a lot of buyers around these areas. So how important is it and how do we gauge the potential for Bitcoin to perhaps trade in a range? And what would it mean if we just can't hold that range where there used to be so many buyers?
Well, first of all, you have the hodlers, the big whales that did not sell on this big dip down. They were holding on. So that's one factor that you really have to look at. And yeah, this is a wide range now. You and I always have a conversation that when we see Bitcoin consolidate, we're always waiting for a huge move, right? A huge move coming one way or the other here. That was probably the huge move. So I would not, hesitate to say we may see Bitcoin coil up and consolidate here over the next week or two in maybe a $3,000–4,000 range, which I personally think would be a really good thing. CME futures volume today is actually pretty robust. It's about 8,000 contracts, so that's not too bad. But I think that as we continue to see more and more mainstream adoption, and news story yesterday, I think it was yesterday. I mean, the days run together, about JP Morgan, coming out with their fund for their wealthy clients. The more and more we see that, Oliver, the more that these dips are gonna get bought.
Is this still a buyable dip after the bounce back in your mind, Scott, or do you want to wait until confirmation of either a range or a push back towards 60, you personally?
I'm waiting. I love the fact that we bounced back here. We're kind of in no man's land right here. We really are. I would rather buy it up at 58, 59 on the way up than buy it right here. Even though am I concerned about another downward move? Of course I am, but I think that the next, let's call it violent move, if you will, is going to be to the upside, but I'd rather buy into it on the upside.
Okay. All right. So looking for strength to bring more strength, which has been a trade that's worked in Bitcoin, except for in that last breakout, which does make it a little bit unique. But you're not selling it either, waiting for some direction and some clarity. Thanks for the walkthrough on the technicals that you're looking at, Scott. Appreciate it as always. Good stuff, Scott Bauer, CEO at Prosper Trading Academy.